Today's Neville Goddard discussion, I'm basing it on this mind map that I've put together, which is called Awareness of Polarization. Now, in the last video, we spoke of polarity, and one of the important factors that we recognize upon working with that information is also related to what we talked about in last Sunday's Neville discussion. What are we saying I am to? So much of what we say I am to is unconscious. It is revealed based on what we react to, or what we seem to automatically do, which we would call ideal behaviors, ideal habits, ideal way of being. I also spoke about, in the last video, seeing reactivity as an opportunity. And one of the reasons why we would do this is so that we can identify what we are polarizing to. So Neville states, if you are with us for the first time, this is what we believe and teach here. We firmly believe that you, the individual, can realize your every dream, and the reason is that God and man are one. We believe that the difference is not in the mentality with which we operate, but only in the degree of intensity of the operant power itself, and that we call human imagination. So there he is speaking about the degree that we're polarizing to, that is revealing our degree of internal locus of control versus external locus of control. And one of the things that I suggested in that video was to observe where you are polarizing in conversation. With the gift of mind and speech, you create conditions and circumstance of life. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word, said Hermes, is Son, and mind is Father of the Word. They are not separate from one another, for life is the union of word and mind. You and your inner talking or word are one. If your mind is one with your inner conversations, then to be transformed in the mind is to be transformed in conversation. So we want to be more aware of what we are saying I am to, and we also want to be more aware of what the reactivity is revealing in regards to what we are saying I am to. And one of the things that I had suggested in the video, and I'm going to suggest it again, is to engage in conversations with people and observe where you are being reactive to what they're saying. Observe the words that they're using, the body language, the vibe of the conversation. And this insightful data, upon reflection at the end of the day, will reveal what we are saying I am to. You can say one sentence to an individual, and it can result in reactivity and the revelation of anger. They're essentially polarizing to those words and conjuring up in their imagination scenes of anger. You can say that same sentence to another person, and it can conjure up in their imagination scenes of love, in which they respond to what is being said from the perspective of love. This is very important if you would like to maintain a higher degree of internal locus of control. It is to reconcile our interpretations in relation to words, sentences, communication, and so forth. In the world of marketing, we are taught to polarize our audience over to our message. In the world of personal development, we're taught to depolarize ourselves from messages that are not in harmony with our vision. What we want to do is be aware of both perspectives. And what we're looking to do at a deeper level here, and I would like to further encourage it in this conversation as well as throughout the videos, is for you to maintain the internal locus of control and polarize yourself automatically to what is in harmony and in contribution to your vision, rather than being polarized to elements in reality in relation to the meaning within that create distraction, that brings you into different states of mind, that breaks your flow. Now, to articulate this even further, let's look at this other quote here by Neville. But if you remain in one state, you will forever have to suffer the consequence of not being in the other state. If I remain in the state of poverty, I must suffer the consequences of not being in the state of wealth. So, if I say something to you, and based on those statements that were said to you, you react to it and see yourself from the perspective of the state of poverty in relation to what is said, then chances are you will move into that state of mind. You will start to feel whatever is related from that state of poverty. It will be reflected in your beliefs, in your behaviors, in your interpretations, and so forth. If you had resolved those aspects within yourself, and you maintained a state of mind, a concept of self in regards to wealth, then it wouldn't matter that I said that to you. Like, for example, if I said, acquiring a large degree of wealth, if you react to a statement like that and say, you can't achieve wealth, then you've essentially operated from an external locus of control-based perspective and polarized yourself to what was said, and as a result, you begin to further encourage a state of mind that is not in harmony with the wealth that you desire. If you do the subconscious mind work and you go in and you change your perspectives, your beliefs, your interpretations, your assumptions about what other people suggest to you, and as a result of hearing those same statements or that same sentence presented to you, whatever was said to you, you still maintain a state of mind from the perspective of wealth or prosperity consciousness, then you have successfully reconciled within yourself an aspect that is appearing in reality and the interpretation that has been assigned to that aspect or element or attribute in reality from the perspective of in harmony and in contribution to your vision. Which is why I recommend having conversations with people. This is one of the things that I noticed happen within myself as I continuously encourage developing the capability, the skill of public speaking. As mentioned a few videos ago, I realized that it was my one thing. I recommend watching that video, the one thing, in relation to maintaining or further encouraging the concept of self. Because through the process of public speaking, which was done in sales, marketing, presentation, live events, online videos, online communication, blog posts, or any form of communication, which I enjoy all forms of communication, I was not only cultivating the skill, but I was also observing what I was polarizing to. The responses from the communication, the words that were used in the communication as I was dialoguing with someone. As I found myself being reactive to what they were saying and bringing myself in different states of mind, I would go in and make peace with what was being said, so I no longer polarized to that statement. That way, I maintain an ideal state of mind, an ideal state of flow in relation to the conversation. Now, this is extremely powerful and conscious use of the two gifts of speech and mind for those that are in entrepreneurship, or those that are in leadership positions, or those that are in sales. Because if for whatever the reason may be, you react to what the prospect is saying, or the other individual is saying, from the perspective of reactivity in relation to a different state of mind that you wouldn't consider ideal, then you put yourself in a position to go into that state of mind again and again and again through conversations unless you have made peace with that attribute within yourself. That's why working with polarity or observation of what you polarize to what you react to is an opportunity because it gives us awareness as to what we are saying I am to unconsciously. So let's go a little deeper into this in relation to a quote here from the Kybalion and tie it into some more examples so we can work with this. So it stated, the student who is familiar with the process by which the various schools of mental science, etc., produce changes in mental states to those following their teachings may not readily understand the principle underlying many of these changes. When, however, the principle of polarity is once grasped, and it is seen that the mental changes are occasioned by a change of polarity, a sliding along the same scale, the hatter is ready to understand. If the change is not in the nature of a transmutation of one thing into another thing entirely different, but is merely a change of degree in the same thing, a vastly important difference. So let's apply this practically to conversations. Let's use this in regards to sales. You sit down and you have a conversation with your prospect. You recognize that the product or service that you are offering is of benefit to the other individual. The other individual engages in a conversation with you, you engage in a conversation with them. Your goal is to help them overcome their objections, their doubts, their indecision, or any kind of programming that seems to convolute the realization that the product or service is of benefit to them. Provided that you know that the product or service is of benefit to them, our responsibility is to maintain this conversation and not react to the objections that they provide. Rather, understand the objections and what it is revealing about ourselves, what it is revealing about them, and what is also being revealed in relation to the words, the communication. This will bring us an enormous amount of insightful data, and I had learned this from direct response marketing, consultative selling, and copywriting. We learn how to communicate the words, the phraseology, the style of communication that resonates with the other person, that bridges the product or service with the benefits that they will receive as a result of using the product or service by doing the deal with you, buying the product or service from you. And one of the best ways to work with this is to work with this concept of the law of polarity. Essentially, what are we being reactive to? And tie that further into what we learned from Neville, which is what we react to is what we're saying I am to, and that is governing the different state of mind that we go into. When we reconcile it within ourselves, when we make peace with it, for example, a person can say, all individuals that show up within my awareness to buy my product or service are in harmony and in contribution for receiving the benefit through my product or service. And as a result, I have the ability to express and understand and listen and dialogue in a way that facilitates that deal from the perspective of mutual harmony and benefit, thus generating me a lavish, steady, dependable income of mutual benefit and integrity, which was the Dr. Millikan affirmation that I shared. I'll put a link in the description to that, which Neville had revealed in one of his lectures. See, that kind of accurate thinking is what we want to identify with, because when we identify, or in other words, say I am too, that way of thinking, our reality in this regard, how we deal with our prospects, how we deal with our clients, reflects that assumption. And as we integrate it, it moves from assumption into a knowingness, a certainty, an absolute conviction that that is exactly how it is. And from that perspective, it is easier to maintain the flow. So let's go back again to working with polarity. An individual feels reactive in a conversation with someone. It's important to, after the conversation, to pause for a moment and ask yourself, what was I being reactive to? Was it what they said? If it was something that they said, what is it that we are applying the meaning to in regards to what they said? And is this really true meaning? Is this meaning in relation to internal locus of control? Again, watch the video I did on Thursday as we discuss internal locus of control and external locus of control. So what ends up happening then is a person ends up identifying the meaning based on what they are polarizing to. And in regards to what they polarize to, they reconcile or make peace within themselves, and they find the accurate meaning. And then they identify with that accurate meaning subconsciously. And if they find themselves in that same kind of interaction, what they will notice is instead of being reactive, they will be proactive. This also brings forth a deeper degree of understanding, fluidity of mind. Things aren't necessarily one way or another. They could actually be a combination of both, and usually ends up being the case. For example, let's use a popular personality analysis. It's called the Myers-Briggs. Now, every time I do the test, I recognize that I am an ENTJ. ENTJ means extroverted, intuitive, thinking, and judging. On the flip side of extroverted, we got introverted. On the flip side of intuitive, we've got sensing. On the flip side of thinking, we got feeling. And on the flip side of judging, we got perceiving. What otherwise seems as opposite, upon deeper reflection of myself and working on myself, I'm also very introverted in certain regards. I also have a sensing side to me, although I tend to be more on the intuitive side. But in certain life experiences, or in certain conversations, or certain experiences, I tend to be more sensing. Same is to be said about thinking. I also developed my feeling side. I can feel conversations. So we got the thinking and feeling that has harmonized. And then also we get into perceiving and judging. If I'm too much on the judging side, then I won't see potentialities, higher degree of potentialities that exist in the varying scope of activities that I do for optimization and so forth. So thus I went down the journey to further embrace the perceiving side of myself. What this allowed me to do was bring forth a higher degree of peace within myself, as well as relating with others, knowing that other people communicate, interact, and deal with reality from different perspectives. And I'm able to find, and I'm getting better at this more so each day, and it's through my videos that I trust that you are also getting better at this every day, to be able to, like a sliding scale, recognize if you can benefit from more of the feeling side, more of the thinking side, more of the perceiving side, or more on the judging side. And judging is really looked at decision making. So I have a great ability to make decisions. But I also want to make decisions based on the optimal. Now, to further reconcile this, we can follow the simple process that Neville had outlined to us, which is essentially to maintain the ideal state of mind in relation to the vision. That means we make flow a priority. We do the things, we think the things, and we prioritize the things that bring us into an internal divine center-based congruence and integration between the inner and outer. We feel one with. And by observing our inner dialogue, the inner talking, in relation to what we are reacting to, understanding that a conversation can be had with a person, but there are certain aspects of the conversation that we might find that we are reacting to, such as in the sales experience. The same is to be said when it comes to leadership. If you're a leader of an organization and you're looking to cultivate other leaders, you may find yourself being reactive to what one of your team members or another leader you are cultivating is saying. Your goal is to release from that reactivity so you could find the accurate flow of communication within yourself, and it is within you. We've been speaking about this. The answers are within ourselves. Eternity is within us. And allow ourselves to express and release the ideal, authentic communication with the individual that will facilitate a harmony, even though on the surface, the viewpoints seem divergent. And now this is a skill, and it's one that we can get better at with practice, which is why I suggested in the last video, and I'll suggest it again, to actually see what you polarize to as a teacher, what you react to as a teacher, so you can understand within yourself, reconcile and make peace within yourself to what you are consciously and unconsciously saying I am to, so that you can maintain your flow, ideal state of mind, harmonious dialogues, conversations, whatever it is, on the journey to realizing your vision. Let's go ahead and conclude this with an affirmation. We can say, I realize that I have a greater ability to understand what I polarize to. Upon reflection of what I have polarized to, I also have the ability to find the true and accurate interpretation via my intuition and inner voice to identify with the accurate perspective in relation to my vision. Through the process of polarizing to what is in harmony and in contribution to my vision, I'm able to maintain a higher degree of flow, which brings forth a higher degree of love. And through this process, I'm able to reconcile divergent viewpoints and see them as one. I'm able to harmonize different aspects of reality and find more opportunities and nuanced perspectives, thus further encouraging and cultivating the understanding and precise application of speech and mind. Through this process, I develop a higher degree of internal locus of control, which allows me to work with the power within to bring forth the reality that I desire from a place of love and flow. I recognize that there are many different paradigms, many different perspectives, many different opinions, many different beliefs, many different interpretations, many different assumptions. And I'm able to find what is true within myself and harmonize to that and relate it to my experiences with people, environment, circumstance, and information, which allows me to value the journey to a higher degree. I'm then able to identify the accurate perspectives in which I become as a result of saying I am to that perspective. In regards, I maintain an ideal state of mind, reconciling the truth, the wisdom of the ages. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.